What's up, folks? My name is Kendra Vandruff from Kendra Vandruff Watercolors, and today we are going to be learning how to paint step by step this Misty pine tree watercolor landscape. It's inspired by North Cascades National Park in Washington. It's full of gorgeous mountain ranges, and I cannot wait to teach you all about the technique on how to create this watercolor artwork. Without further ado, let's get painting. Okay, so to start our layer of Misty Pine mountain range, we are going to do a nice wash again. Now that our sky has kind of set and dried, I'm just going to do a layer of a wash with my sponge brush, and it's going to be higher towards the left and angled downward towards the right. And I'll go ahead and resaturate the whole paper a bit. We'll do about 2 to 3 layers of Misty Pines here, but the main area you definitely want well saturated is the top of this mountain range. Okay, so we are going to use the same color combination of our Lamp Black and Prussian Blue. And what I want to do here is first start by applying this color to the wet area and just dragging it ever so slightly in an irregular way, and this is going to act as some nice misty fog. And again, the more irregularly shaped towards the bottom, the better. Okay, so now you can kind of start to see this sloping mountain range just a bit more as I've applied some color. Next up, I'm going to start on the left side, and I'm going to add the silhouettes of some pine trees. So I like to start with doing a line as the base of the trunk, and then from there kind of saturate the bottom where it's rooted just a little bit. And then I like to do some very delicate, dainty upside down V shapes. And as I get to the base of the trunk, I widen these V shapes into kind of a cone shaped silhouette here. So it's itty bitty narrow towards the top and wider towards the bottom. Almost like a lady fern. And I'm just going to add some very loose brush strokes on either side just to help fill in the tree from then on out. Nice and loose, so you kind of see the silhouette of some bristles on the edges. And I'm working much looser than if I were painting, say, a galaxy painting with pine tree silhouettes. This is definitely a little bit more loose. I'm going to add a little, was I yodeling there? I'm not quite sure. I'm going to add a little pine tree over to the left here, just as its neighbor. And I'm going to go ahead and go all the way across this mountain range. And you definitely want to make sure as you keep going across that you re-wet some of the areas as you add the pine trees if your paper dries in places. You can go ahead and utilize your sponge brush to do that, so that way it keeps consistent with the wet and wet technique. And that way you still get that loose, foggy Pacific Northwest quality to the pine trees with the fog below. And one thing to keep in mind is I like to have my pine trees unevenly spaced a little bit, so that way it's a little bit more organic. And I like to have them have some height varieties, so that way it's not just perfectly even and perfectly balanced, because that's not how it is in nature. You've got some little itty bitty trees, and then you have some larger ones. So just the more variety that you play with, and the looser you are with it, the better. Okay, so I am just going to let this first layer of Misty Pines dry, and once it's dry we can move on to the next. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring it back to our sponge brush. I kind of want to do a slightly similar angle where it's a little bit taller towards the left and gradually slopes towards the bottom. I'm going to let this hill mountain range kind of cut off a little bit short of the corner. Alright, so now that I've got that nice wash laid out, I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of fog using the same color blend of Lamp Black and Prussian Blue. We are literally just using 2 colors in this entire painting, so if you just want to dabble with watercolor but you don't want to go gun-ho with all of the art supplies, I highly recommend trying this tutorial because you only need 2 colors and 1 paintbrush, so you cannot go wrong. So you can see here I'm just adding some irregular shapes here, amounts of color with this blend, and you can see the fog is kind of rolling through here, so I'm just kind of adding just some irregular shapes within this white wash, and it again ends a little bit short over here. We'll do a third half mountain range kind of interlocking and cutting right here, but for now let's just get the layout of the second mountain range. And then from here on out I'm just going to do the same exact thing that I did up here, but again in this second mountain range. So tons of pine trees in irregular heights and spaced out unevenly. So let's go ahead, put some nice music on and get painting. Okay, so I have painted our second layer here, and we will be adding a third, and it's going to be angled this way, more towards the left corner and a little bit higher towards this area of the page. But I wanted to share, if you get a watermark here, do not fret, fear not, because the layer of the third pine trees will help conceal that. So if that happens, do not worry, you are all fine. Are we? Just kidding. We'll be good. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on our third layer. Okay, so again, I'm going to keep this third layer a little bit higher towards the right side of the page, so about 2 inches up. And then I will slowly bring it back down. So this one will take less time to do. Okay, so again, I'm going to just mix some more Prussian blue and some more Lamp Black. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and start on this side this time. Okay, so our third layer of pine trees is done, and you really could leave the painting as is if you prefer, but if not, there is a little detail that we can add, and I want to add it in this vacant space right here. There's just a lot of fog here, and I kind of want to fill it so that way your eyes kind of flow through the rest of the painting. You do not have to do this, but I think by adding a few flying birds in this vacant area, it'll really make the painting come to life a bit more. So instead of using my size 6 brush, I'm going to switch gears to a smaller brush, and this is a Aqua Elite Princeton size 1 round brush, and I'm just going to take some Lamp Black, and I'm going to do some dainty, really delicate, kind of rounded V shapes. So there's our first little guy there. So it's almost like a flat kind of round V, and I'm going to do some that are really small and then some that are larger. And I like to space these out with some of them being a little bit close together and a couple maybe being farther apart. Okay, so there are our birds. Love how this just filled the vacant space up nicely and makes your eye kind of flow throughout the painting. If you've been following me even just for a couple of videos, you know I love to peel the tape off of my paintings. It's just one of those oddly satisfying things. So let's go ahead and peel off the tape and reveal this painting. Did we just get a perfect peel off tape session? I don't see any bleeds here, and that's something to celebrate. I love it. I'm so excited. Looking good. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me for this Misty Pine tree landscape showcasing the North Cascades in Washington. North Cascade National Park is definitely in my bucket list to go see. I love the mountains, so can't wait to see that someday. Thank you again for joining me for this tutorial. Be sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already, so that way you don't miss any future tutorials on my channel, and happy painting.